Hey, welcome to my kitchen. This is Debz OG.
What's your favorite blonde girl? I'm back. You know fun.
And we're going to have some fun in the kitchen today. We are doing our new cooking series. And we're going to talk a little bit about fermented green tomato ketchup. So we're going to cut off Debz OG right now. Side hustle. Have a little sip of wine. So remember the 3 most important things if you're going to cook in the kitchen. And try to remember not to get stressed out. Number 1, get your favorite beverage. Number 2, your favorite music. And something that will inspire you, that'll uplift you and get you going. And I can't think of anything better than side hustle. I'm just trying to get into it. That's going to make me rich. And by the way, there's no haters allowed in the kitchen. So there's the door. Say no more. So the third thing is you got to look good. So do your hair. Put on something lovely. I got some rhinestones on today. And I got a little, fancy sweater because it's cold out and it's been snowing. And I'm having my Mom and Me Sexy Red Blend. And that's Mom and Me right there. Anyways, as you recall, we were doing one of these recipes out of Better Homes and Gardens top 100 tomato recipes. So these are like the all-time favorites out of all the years that Better Homes and Garden has been producing cookbooks, magazines, beautiful shows, and I suppose maybe, some of the finest people we've seen on TV have actually taken recipes from Better Homes and Gardens and have cooked with it. So maybe not Julia Child, but maybe somebody else. So you never know. So anyway, I anticipated that if these were the 100 top recipes, best of all time, that they would actually be easy to understand and fun to replicate. However, as you may recall from our previous episodes, this recipe called for whey, and it didn't tell you any other thing other than whey, how much whey to put in, and that you could, if you couldn't find it at the grocery store, which they made it sound like it was readily available, and it is not, unless you want to buy whey protein and build muscle or recover from a workout, more quickly, and spend an exorbitant amount of money. So my husband, who has a PhD in microbiology, went on a search. And so this was the brand. This was it. Maple Hill Organic, 100% grass-fed. And this is unsweetened yogurt. But this was the only yogurt out of the grocery stores here in the Omaha area that had an unfiltered yogurt. Now on top here, I know it's hard to see because whey protein is actually clear. It's very clear. But it says here, plain cream on top yogurt. And what that means is when you open your yogurt, it's not ready to eat. You have to stir it up to mix the whey in with the yogurt because it's unfiltered. 90%, 95% of what we have in the United States today, I'd say more like 95%, has already been strained, so you can't strain it. So what I had to do is to make my own whey because I couldn't buy any whey here. And, even Whole Foods did not have it. And it just wasn't worth going over to Trader Joe's for. Because of the pandemic, they have a line that stretches around the block, and you can't get into Trader Joe's unless you stand outside in the freezing cold for an hour. And that doesn't work out for me. So, as you may recall, we had to divide our recipe in half and put put half in each quart jar. Now, I didn't understand why I had to do that. It didn't really tell me. So I used antique jars. I was able to put the paper napkins away, and I found these really, really cool. These are antique, but these are called covers, and they're made just for fermenting, and that's what they did back in the day. These little jewels that are on here are actually little rocks that have been polished, and they hold this down, and it's like a cheesecloth that's over the top of this. And why do we want that? So the air can come and go while this is bubbling and fermenting, then it can actually grow and breed. So the way that we poured in here in the last episode, that way went in the jar, we mixed it up, and then it started bubbling and literally bubbling. And this is what it kind of looks like inside there. So it looks like a science experiment. I haven't touched it. And the recipe actually said to leave this in the fridge for 6 to 8 days. Well, I consulted my husband because he is in microbiology. He does understand fermenting. He makes beer, he makes wine. He's got fermenting down, okay? So his opinion was I should leave it out at room temperature. Our temperature in our house is 70. And watch it ferment. So I did. I left it on the counter. I covered it with these little, basically, cheesecloth with the weights like that. And it sat on our kitchen cabinet over there for 8 days. It bubbled, it changed color. But most of all, what was pleasant was it started smelling super good. Now, this was a blonde moment I had. I looked over and I said to my husband, oh my God, that one's green and this one looks like it's kind of a icky brown color. So we sat there and I thought, oh geez, I did something wrong. There's something that got in this jar that wasn't in that jar. So my husband goes, well, Deborah, look, one jar's blue and one jar's clear. I'm like, oh my God, that's right. Anyway, so what we're gonna do, so we're gonna stir this up. And now it is supposed to be ready to eat. And it's supposed to be like ketchup. So if you want to take a sample to check it out, you can take a little sample and put it on a little piece of cracker. And I thought we would sample it to see how it is. Well, I taste a lot of cloves in it. And to me, it's more like a relish than a ketchup. And so I really don't know why they equate it to ketchup. But here's how I would use this. It's delicious, there's no doubt. And then once you take a little sample, and once you've stirred this up, like this, now it's all set to go. You can put it in the fridge. It'll keep in your refrigerator for up to 2 to 3 months. And get this, 2 tablespoons is 64 calories. So here's what I would recommend. I would use this like a relish. So instead of putting pickles on my hot dog or my hamburger or something that I normally like a relish with, I would treat this as a condiment like that. And then I would put that in place of that, especially since it's 64 calories for 2 tablespoons. But it is delicious. I would highly recommend it. It was worth probably going through all of the hell to try to figure out how to get the whey and how to make the whey. But I honestly think that this is one of the top recipes I would never make again. Why? Because when somebody writes a recipe, they should make it simple and easy. It should be something where you know where to buy the ingredient, that they still actually make that ingredient, that the recipe hasn't aged over the last 5, 10, 20 years, however long, long ago that these 100 top recipes came out. But, society changes, technology changes. So what the hell, we need to make sure that the ingredients are still available. We need to make sure that it's simple and easy, because let's face it, time is important. We don't have time to sit here and try to figure out every little nook and cranny, how to find yogurt that's still unfiltered. And, a lot of people don't like whey. So I don't know what to say other than it was a great recipe, except for the whole whey fiasco. So from my kitchen to yours, thanks for joining. Let's get a little bit of this music going here.
Stickity's bigger, always pulling triggers. You ain't bossing me. Why are you so bitter? Getting to these figures. Yeah, you heard of me. I've been on my grind
Since elementary. Bounce, 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 boom, boom. Happy Halloween!
Oh, hell, we've been kicked out of much better places than this.
Oh, yes, and we have. But nobody's going to kick Debz out of her kitchen. So, we're safe. Breaking through. And we're breaking through on pumpkins today. And we're going to talk about Debz, that you think you know me. You ain't seen nothing yet. So, what we're going to reintroduce today are these lovely pumpkins. Now, I don't know. Let's go over this just in case you're a new viewer and you don't know the 3 basic fundamental rules of cooking. Number 1, you got to have good music. Debz is the place to be. So, come on. Just pump up your computer, your iPod, your iPad, whatever you got going there. And if you're an Android, pump up the Droid. But get your music on, get happy, get vibing, get your favorite drink. I tend to go typically with wine. And also, go spend a few minutes on yourself. Don't neglect yourself, especially during this pandemic. Do your hair, do your nails, whatever it takes. Put on some makeup. But get then in the kitchen and do your little hustle. So today, first thing we're going to talk about is pumpkins. So Better Homes and Gardens again, cookbook, Taste of Home, fall recipes, and these are all great pumpkin recipes. Now, in our family, since we come from a long line of people who love to cook, and we're Italian, what we like to do is we like to make every damn thing from scratch. We like to go in the kitchen and spend days in the kitchen and never come out until your knuckles are bleeding from peeling too many apples or peeling too many, I don't know what's, tomatoes when you're trying to can them. But as a child, that's what I went through. So now I hate to cook. And I'm not ashamed to say that. But one thing I do love is pumpkin. I love pumpkin, and I'm very fussy about pumpkin. So today's episode is all about trying to pick the right pumpkin. If you like to make your own pumpkin, this is about you. If you like to go to the grocery store and buy that god-awful canned pumpkin that tastes caustic, this is not your episode. But I will tell you, I would take all of that canned pumpkin that tastes just like the can and sort of like the label that's on the can, and I would give it to somebody who's starving, who doesn't really care what pumpkin they eat, because that stuff is horrible. And most of that stuff has a lot of sodium or preservatives in it, which is not good for you. Some of the top pumpkins in the world are sitting right here on my kitchen island, and I'm so excited. So these are French pumpkins. These I love, and they can also have green on them, so wanted to show you that. This guy couldn't quite turn all the way orange yet, but you can see he's mainly orange. But that's a French pumpkin. These are my favorites. Now, they make excellent pie. I would say they're like number 3 on my list. This pumpkin here that looks like it's all warty, I love it. Not only is it beautiful to look at, but this thing is like number 1 for making pies. My number 2 was a green pumpkin that looks a lot like this, but that darn little thing decided to rot. So, you know, I had to pitch that. But anyway, this guy, the challenge here is that when you cook pumpkins, you kind of peel them like a potato. So think of this as like a potato. You're going to have to cut it. You're going to have to peel the skin off, and then you're going to have to pressure cook it, or you're going to have to steam it because you got to cook the meat down. All of these pumpkins that you see here are very meaty. And they're really, in some cases like these, they're really not a pumpkin. They're actually officially a squash. And I hate squash. So when I found that out, I was like, oh my God, I can't think of it like that. It's got to be a sip of wine, a talk with myself, and then I can proceed. But this pumpkin here also, I mean, when you lift these, I think this pumpkin here is about 15 pounds. It is super heavy. Why you want to look at the weight is that has an indicator of how thick this is once you cut into it. The bitch of it is trying to peel this guy because he's got all these beautiful crustacean things growing on him, kind of like barnacles, but it makes it a bitch to peel this. I would tell you it is well worth all the hell you go through to go ahead and get one of these. Now, what I like about buying pumpkins this year, write this down, this is one good thing about 2020 that we haven't had in the last 2 or 3 years. Last year, pumpkins were very scarce here. So a pumpkin like this last year would easily be anywhere between $25 to $55, depending on where you would go to buy it. But this year, these pumpkins are ranging anywhere from $5.99 to $12.99 per pumpkin. So this one's a lot lighter. They're still dense, they're still heavy, but these two here are the heaviest. And the green one is a very dark green. It's kind of in this color range here, but it looks almost like the color of an army jeep that you would see. Anyway, any of these pumpkins will make an excellent dessert, pumpkin pie, pumpkin breads, cookies, very moist, excellent flavor. Doesn't taste a damn thing like a squash, what you would think a squash would taste like. In my book, squash sucks, but in this, these are amazing. Now, one of the things I thought we would talk about, because everybody immediately, when you think about the best recipes, like up here, again, pumpkin cheesecake, Mom's best pumpkin cheesecake. Of course, we always think about cupcakes, cookies, breads, pies. Of course we do, because that's what we all love. But here's a couple of interesting recipes. And for our future episode, we will be cooking one of these. But the most disgusting one to me out of this entire cookbook, and there's a little picture of it right here so you can kind of see what we're up against here. But you know, in the fall, I love to make chili. I love chili. And down in Texas, you know, I've spent a lot of time down there filming for MTV, Farrah, Sophia, all of us down there. And of course, they have big Texas chili cook-offs. Amazing chilies. Well, this is a hearty pumpkin chili with polenta. Now, I don't know about you, but the thought of putting pumpkin in my chili just kind of sounds like, oh, that can't be good or it can't work out. So I'm not sure how this is going to come out, but this is from Wendy Roosh in Cameron, Wisconsin. Feel free to make this chili a day ahead. It reheats nicely and the polenta stays good for a few days in an airtight container in the fridge. It's a favorite fall recipe in our household. So this came from Wisconsin, from the heartland. You know, these are people who also know chili very well. So all of this is gonna rest on Wendy's shoulders, Wendy Roosh. It's gonna rest on her shoulders. So the next time we meet, pull up a seat, get ready for some fun, and we'll just see how horrific it is to make this chili with polenta and pumpkin, the two peas. And hopefully it won't turn out pitiful. Have a great day. Thanks for watching Debz OG and our little cooking show. And I hope it makes you laugh. I hope you have a good time with it. And the other thing is, we don't get uptight here. You know, I always wanted to be like Martha Stewart when I grew up. Sort of check that off. I would like to do a show with Snoop Dogg, though. I think he is amazing, and I love his sense of humor. So from that perspective, I still want to be like Martha Stewart. But just remember, when you're in the kitchen, if it's too hot, something's probably on fire. Have a great day, and thanks for joining.